So once I was born, my mother basically stopped working. She did work. She worked, but she became a stay-at-home mom. But who would just work sometimes. Basically, she would work if they called her up and go, Gladys, please, we need you. You know. So she did some things. She and my dad would work together. Particularly, certainly, of course, when I got older. My dad would if he would go out on an audition for something where it was supposed to be a couple, she'd tag along, and sometimes she would get the job. They did like an episode of Chico and the Man, where they played a bickering couple, that sort of thing. They did a lot of theater together here in LA. They did a movie. My mom did a movie called Alzana's Raid when I was very, very young. And then later, that writer-director did a movie called Little Treasure and had both my parents in that. They shot it in Mexico. It was starring Margot Kidder and Ted Danson. And my mom tells the story about how everyone was sitting around smoking marijuana. And they passed it to my mother, and she said, no, thank you. And they said, come on, try it. And she goes like this. I don't like it, passed it on. This is my mother's entire drug experience. So she and my father were very close. They had some knockdown dragouts. They did have some. Neither of them were shy about fighting big. But, they really loved each other. And when he died in 1997, and I lived in New York, I did not move back home to be with her. Now, if my mother had died first, I would have moved back home to take care of my dad. But my mother was just always the driving force. She was the one who was, in charge of getting shit done. So I figured she didn't need me to take care of her the way my dad would have. Later, I found out my mom did wish she had asked me to come home, but she did not want, me to change my entire life for her. And she was actually in a severe depression for a year. And her friend Joan, my lifelong friend, I've been lifelong friends with Joan's daughter, Therese, because we met when I was 5 and she was 4. So neighborhood friend, good friends for years, and she basically got my mother out of it by, coming over and saying, let's go out and do this, let's go out and do that. And she was the one who brought my mom back. After my dad died, then after that, my mom had a great life. She would go out, she would do things, she had friends, if there was a, she just had her cronies. There was a group of people. Like there was her friend Bill Irwin, not the clown Bill Irwin, the other Bill Irwin, who was an actor. Erwin. Very close friends. Particularly after my dad died and his wife died. They never dated or anything, but they were good friends. And he had a group of people, and they would meet every, I think Wednesday or something, and go to a restaurant called Pinocchio's in Burbank. And she would go out, and she would go to the movies, she would go to the Academy. My dad was a member of the Academy and of the Motion Picture Academy. And when the member dies, the spouse, the widow, gets to keep going to the films. But they don't get to vote, but they do get to keep going. They don't get to vote on the Oscars. And then my dad was a member of the TV Academy, and she could have joined the TV Academy, but why pay for 2 memberships? She was cheap that way. So then after he died, then she did join the TV Academy quickly because, your earlier stuff it has to be within a certain time period. So your earliest stuff can not count anymore. So she got in quick before some of her early stuff, her early television didn't count anymore. I didn't tell this story. I remember, this is my favorite of her early television things. She was on, I think, Truth or Dare, or to tell, something, some show that was like Truth or Dare, and she was a sexy French girl. And she said, basically, as a sexy French girl in French, do you want me to hit you over the head? To some dude. And the dude goes, oh, oui, oui, oui. And then she hits him over the head. That sort of thing. So, more stuff I forgot, which was acting roles my mother did after my father died. For instance, she was in Beverly Hills 90210. She was in, remember when they went to France for 3 episodes? Well, she was that. She was the hotelier. She was the woman who was in charge of the hotel where they were staying. And so she had a couple of, I think she was in 2 of the 3 episodes. Of course, they shot those parts in Los Angeles. They did not go to France for the interiors of the hotel. And at the time, my mother was teaching a children's acting class at the American Academy of Dramatic Art, where I learned acting and dance and everything when I was a kid. And then my mother taught there for many, many years. And so because she did Beverly Hills 90210, she got everybody in the whole cast to sign the front page of her script, Xeroxed it, and gave a copy to all the little girls because they loved that show. And she would, by the way, never hear a word against Shannon Doherty. Not a single word. It was ever like, she's so terrible. No, she was lovely to my mom. Also, when I told Blake I was doing this, my friend Blake, he was like, did you mention Blossom? I was like, oh no, I forgot about Blossom. He's like, that's my childhood. So yes, Mom was in Blossom. She was just in 1 episode. She marries, sorry, the dog is hacking. She marries Barnard Hughes, who is Blossom's grandfather. And we thought, well, maybe she'll return. She did not return, but it was a really good episode. And she was lovely in it. Not after my dad died, but before. She did a movie called Killing Zoe, which was written and directed by Roger Avery. And it was about a bank robbery that went wrong, and my mom was a bank teller. In the movie, she gets shot, and then for the rest of the movie, her dead body is lying on the ground, and like the lead bank robber is like throwing cigarettes at her head and that sort of thing. But this was a stunt woman. She had no idea until later. She met with the stunt woman. She says, "Yeah, I got cigarettes thrown in my head all yesterday." So she did not know. So she's actually, her character is in the film way more than she is as a dead body lying on the floor. And let me tell you, when I saw that movie, if I was a child when I had seen that movie, perhaps it would have been upsetting, but I thought it was super cool. It was a lot of fun. And then the lead actor, what was his name? Jean-Hugues Anglade. This was a French bank robbery. It was all French. That's why she was the head teller. Jean-Hugues Anglade plays the main bad guy. And she asked for a picture with him in costume and everything. And he had a handgun in his hand. And he took a handgun and he shoved it in her mouth, which is how he kills, which is, how they are in the movie. And they took the picture that way. And that picture was on the cover of our Christmas card that year. Will I be able to find it in order to put it on this video? Unlikely. But it might appear in a video at another time. But it was actually a double thing, the cover of our Christmas card that year. That's why I know it was when my father was still alive. Because he did Ace Ventura: Pet Detective that year. And there's a picture as a publicity shot of him shoving a rifle in the face of Jim Carrey. So those two were the cover of our Christmas card that year. Oh my God. I gotta find it.